Hello and welcome to Culture Shark, a live stream about all things pop culture. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and today is a very special day. It is May the 4th.
Yes,
Uh,
yes. Happy Star Wars Day.
yes, indeed. And we thought we would take a look back at a Star Wars story that most people don't talk a whole lot about. This is Star Wars Legacy, which was a Dark Horse comic book series. It
Yes.
is set Uh, I would say hundreds. I don't know if it's 200 years, but over 100 years after the events of, let's just say, Return of the Jedi. Um, it is.
It's
It's in the future.
yeah, it's a little bit longer than that, so let me geek out here for a second. There was the last novel in the uh, expanded universe is called Crucible, which is uh, which is about 45 years after the Battle of Yavin. So, about 41 years after Return of the Jedi. Um, and so this is about 130 years after that. So,
So Wikipedia claims it's 126 years after Return of the Jedi. I don't know how
I,
accurate that is, but
uh, yeah, you know what? 126 years, because it's 130 years, not after Crucible, but ABY. So, yeah, 126 years after Return of the Jedi. Yeah, that's about right. So this is a book that I am a big fan of. I've always been a big fan of this. I actually, this is something that I actually read like as a kid, like as it was coming out. um, and it's written by John Ostrander, who John Ostrander I would say is probably my favorite writer um, of all time in terms of comic books. For those who don't know, he basically created the Suicide Squad as we know them today. He does a lot of Deadshot. He did quite a bit of Star Wars. Legacy, I would say, is probably like his magnum opus. But I mean, he did Tales of the Jedi, and which is actually several thousand years before Phantom Menace. So I mean, like John Ostrander as a comic book writer is all over the Star Wars universe. If you're a fan of the Galactic Civil War, John Ostrander's got a series. If you're a fan of the Old Republic, John Ostrander's got a series. If you want to see something you've never seen before, welcome to Legacy.
yeah, I have definitely read the first 2 or 3 issues of this way back when, so I don't know if there was a time when I would spend my lunch breaks at work, going to the local bookstore and just sitting there and reading comic books as they were coming out. Like, I wasn't buying them. I would just go to the store and I'd just read comic books. And
That's
this
right.
was probably one of them.
Also, happy comic book day. Support your local comic book stores and don't just sit in there and read them and not buy anything.
Well, I mean, this was like it wasn't a Barnes and Noble, but it
Yeah,
was something like that
yeah, I
a
know.
long time ago. But yes, yesterday was Free Comic Day. It was an awesome day. Some really good books, but we'll talk later about those.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I was familiar that this was going to be about. He's like Luke's great grandson or great great grandson. Cade Skywalker is
Hmm.
our main character, and I have to say, Caleb, it felt really good reading actual Star Wars. It's been a long time since I have read pre-Disney Star Wars, and it was fantastic.
So let me ask you this: is Cade Skywalker not the most interesting character that's ever been in Star Wars?
He is he's pretty fascinating because he we're gonna get into spoilers
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So
So let's start off with this. I've actually read Legacies Volume 1 and 2 and the War miniseries. I'm all over Legacy. I love it. I recommend it. At this point, you've got the first 13 issues under your belt, right?
Yes, I've read the first 13.
All right, and so as you're coming in, what are you thinking? What's your non-spoiler your thoughts? You recommend it?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to continue reading. It's a 50 issue series followed by a 6 issue like wrap up mini series, from what I understand.
Yeah,
There
that
are
involves the star of that is actually Ania Solo, so you get to see the other side of the family tree.
okay.
Because Cade is a descendant of Luke, Ania is a descendant of Leia.
Really? Okay, because I thought that she did remind me of the solos.
Mhm.
So, uh, yeah, I know these have been collected in Marvel Epics. They're long out of print, kind of hard to get a hold of. But you can also read these on Marvel Unlimited, which I will be doing to finish this out sometime during
Yeah,
the summer.
yeah. One thing you're going to run into. So I have the Epics Volume 1 and 3. There are 4. Um, Unfortunately, these I don't think they're a priority for reprints, which is why I don't have 2 and 4. Because 2 and 4 at this point are pretty expensive.
Yeah, they. I think the Star Wars ones, though, I think they will eventually get reprinted. They're not in a rush to reprint because a lot of them ended up at Ollie's on discount because that's where I bought a lot of Star Wars Epics.
Hmm.
But I think they will eventually. It's not like, well, I say this, then tomorrow they'll announce it. It's not like Disney's getting rid of Star Wars anytime soon or Marvel. So I'm sure it's not like when they were printing the Conan epics and then they lost the license to Conan epics, so now you can't, those are just gone.
Yeah.
Those will never be reprinted. So it's not like that. So I think eventually they will get reprinted, or maybe if they come up with a new format after epics, somehow, some way this will get reprinted. I'd love to see this as like an animated series or movies or something. But
Yeah, yeah. Definitely.
so yeah, this gets a high recommendation. There's a lot of Sith. There's a lot of fun with the Empire,
I believe there's
and
just the one Sith. That's a joke if you've read this.
yeah. And there's the rule of two is in full effect here. There's always
Yeah,
just 2 Sith,
of
uh,
course.
and they kind of Cade and his little group, Delilah and is it Sin is the name, I guess.
Yes.
They kind of give me a little bit of a Guardians of the Galaxy vibe, just a little bit,
A little
just
bit.
like kind of a little bit of like Star Lord, the Ravagers, or something like that.
Definitely Ravagers. This is a we'll get in. You know what? Before we get into spoilers, let me go ahead and I'm going to just briefly pitch this. This is not a spoiler. Like this is first issue stuff.
Mhm.
This is a story where the bad guys have won.
Basically,
Yeah.
yes.
Uh, and it's all essentially what we have is we have a civil war between the Sith and the remnants of the Empire called the Fell Empire, and our characters are just caught in the middle of it.
There's a famous episode of the G.I. Joe cartoon where a handful of Joes end up in a alternate dimension where Cobra has won, and now there's a big civil war going on between Cobra Commander and Destro.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, World Without Ends, I think is what it's called. So yes, it's similar vein of that, where yes, the Empire came roaring back after the war with I can never remember the name of these aliens, the
The Yuuzhan Vong.
Yuuzhan Vong. Thank you.
Mhm.
What you don't know what those are? Those were the last set of Star Wars novels towards the end of
Like
the extended universe.
yeah, there was the last major set. So there was Legacy of the Force, which is where the Solo twins are dealing with the Yuuzhan Vong. After
Mhm.
that, we had Fate of the Jedi, which was kind of like an 8 novel epilogue to the entire Star Wars universe, which then ended with Crucible, and then we are here. So
Yes.
the Yuuzhan Vong were the last big threat in the Star Wars galaxy.
And so the results of that have led to this, where the Empire came roaring back, and Yeah, you'll find out what happened to the Jedi and everything else.
All right, spoiler tag up.
Yeah, so yeah, if you haven't read this, we recommend it. So
Real quick, I just want to mention these first couple issues because eventually the covers do change to be a little bit more artistic, but at the same time, I love the simplicity of all the covers. Like,
yeah, I saw a collage online of all the covers like hooked together somewhere. I
mhm,
saw that. It was pretty cool.
yeah. But yeah, so there are like I think there's an issue 0 and an issue 0.5. We didn't go with that because I wanted to keep this pure 1 through 13. These are going to cover basically the first 2 trades. Now, if you read these in trade form, it's going to be a different order. Because if you remember, we got issues 1, 2, and 3, and then 4 is a one shot, right?
Hmm.
And then there's another one. I think 8 is a one shot as well after Broken. Those are in the second trade. That first trade is just the Broken storyline.
Gotcha.
But I actually like reading it with the one shots in the middle because like it's kind of like watching, like you said, this would be a great animated series, you know.
Hmm.
Very similar to Clone Wars, where like you have a storyline and then there's like a one shot in the middle, and then we come back to the storyline. So, um, yeah,
There were two moments that made me gasp when we get to those.
okay,
Um,
okay,
yeah, but yeah, opening up, we're kind of getting the lay of the land of Cade Skywalker, and how he was a Jedi. I don't know if he wasn't a full knight or anything yet. He was
no,
just
no,
kind of an apprentice.
he was the Padawan of Wolf Sazin, who was I don't know who's who, but Cole, who is Cade's father, Cole Skywalker and Wolf Sazin, they kind of got like an Anakin Obi-Wan thing going on.
Hmm.
Um, so it's like if Anakin and Obi-Wan led the Jedi Temple.
Yes, and we have a Sith invasion, and they have broken the rule of two. It's no longer in
Yes.
effect.
Um, it is actually a rule of one. It is the one Sith. Darth Krayt, which I cannot wait for you to get into the nitty gritty of who Darth Krayt is, because once you find out who he actually is, it's insane.
Okay.
um, but so,
So he's been. I mean, they didn't get into a whole lot, but there's something wrong with him. He's been infected. Is that by the Yuzon Vong that he's been
yes,
infected?
yep.
Okay.
Um,
Because I haven't read a whole lot of the Yuzon Vong. I think I'm familiar with it, but that's when I kind of tapped out of
yeah.
the EU. Was I think
Mhm,
I ended with those Timothy Zahn novels, The Spectre of the Past, Vision of the Future, and that's kind of where
mhm.
I left, which was a
That
nice stopping point.
that I mean, yeah. Honestly, that's where a lot of people. Uh, that's where a lot of people
I,
um, hop off because that's kind of like an era. You've got your prequel era, you've got your original trilogy era, and
yeah,
then from the True Set Bakura to Visions of the Future, that's like your New Republic era, and then starting with Vector Prime.
and
Uh,
they tripped out of the gate because the word got out very quickly that Chewbacca dies in the first book,
yeah,
and that turned off a lot of people, and it's just like okay,
yeah.
so
um, yeah. Um, but yeah, so that would be it. And so yeah, Darth Krayt is Darth Krayt is someone who he may or may not have been around for a while,
okay.
um, which
See, now you
that
got me thinking, and now I gotta stop thinking about it. Okay.
and so what he has done is he has abolished the rule of two, and he has labeled them the one Sith. The one Sith. Everyone is all Sith come together as one.
So,
Um,
who is the Sith on the right? Is that Neil or Nile or Is that a different one? Who is he?
That is, yes, I believe that is Darth Nile.
He's cool.
Yeah.
I really like him. I like his design. He's not,
Oh yeah.
he's not the simple Darth Maul colors. He has almost like a
Which
skull face. I really liked him.
which we didn't intend for this because we planned to read Legacy a long time ago. But Darth Talon is becoming Disney canon here in the next year or so, which is fun.
And
Uh,
she's the one in the middle, right?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Because Darth Talon was actually going to be utilized in George Lucas's unproduced trilogy because the main bad guys were going to be Darth Maul resurrected with Darth Talon as his apprentice because the most George Lucasism is they have the same colors, so they're friends.
Gotcha.
And so with the Darth Maul Shadow Lord show with Sam Witwer coming out, she's going to be in that.
So the unproduced George Lucas 789 was always going to have the Return of Darth Maul.
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
They're going to be using a lot of that unproduced stuff and put it in the Shadow Lord show, but it'll be set in.
I
We don't know what it means that they're going to be using a lot of that stuff because it's in a different era, but it'll be interesting.
I guess that makes sense because Clone Wars already had the Maul return train going when
Mhm.
he. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm good. Okay. Continue.
um, and so so we have Darth Talon, which the introduction to Darth Talon really reminds me of like an introduction to like Asajj Ventress in the Clone Wars. She kind of reminds me of like a Legacy's Asajj Ventress. You know, she's an Inquisitor, an assassin, and her introduction is Darth Krayt telling her, "Kill your master." She does so without hesitation, and
Hmm.
so he brings essentially Darth Nile is the left hand, and Talon is the right hand. Like these are his left and right hands. You know.
Yeah. And if you read the EU novels, you know that was the role Mara Jade had um, with the Emperor. So
Yep.
yes, and again, this Guardians of the Galaxy vibe. Star Lord. See, Cade is presumed dead and becomes a a space pirate bounty hunter guy. So
Yeah.
it's
Um,
very, it almost makes me wonder if James Gunn had read this and borrowed from that with the movie.
if anything, I guarantee you that Dan Abnett was reading this.
Sure. Yeah,
Because
but that's not that stuff with him being a kid and disappearing and all that. That's not in the comic books. That's in the movie.
yeah, that's
And then
true.
they adapted it later into the comics. That wasn't
Yeah.
originally in the comics. So anyhow,
But
uh,
yeah, so Cade is interesting because he's kind of like uh, I think he's like the true neutral, the perfect cross between Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, without it being like
wait a
lame.
second. What
Lame.
kind of alien is Delilah?
Zeltron.
Zeltron. Are those from the old Marvel comic?
Yeah, I think so.
I used to love them in the old comic. Okay, hold on. No, no, hold on. Yeah. Because they were always in the old Marvel comic.
And I'll go ahead and say this, that like this is going to be very different from our other reviews because these first it's specifically broken, but you know, even going for the first 13 issues, there's really not like a set storyline. um, these 13 issues, this is just world building. Like the reason the first story arc is called Broken is because it's just showing you how messed up the universe is.
Yeah,
As
these 13 issues are very much not a complete story. If anything, it's kind of like Act One. It's
Yeah,
Act One and then a little bit more, I would say.
yeah,
Uh, so yes, the Zeltrons I was looked up are based on the Marvel comic characters. That's really cool because I really like
yeah.
those characters. I read a lot of the Marvel back in the day, kids. There was not Star Wars media, so you would go hunt down Star Wars back issues at your comic book store to get any new Star Wars story. And so I would read a lot of the issues around between Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and the Zeltrons were a big part of those issues. So
Mhm.
anyhow, in the dark times,
Before the Empire.
yes. Uh, so I think what is interesting about this is the Empire is largely split into two. You have the Sith controlled Empire, and then you have the
Yep.
remnants of the Empire, and they're basically becoming the new Rebel Alliance. Even though there is another Rebel Alliance,
Yeah.
these are you're kind of rooting for the Empire all of a sudden.
Yes, yes. So I am a big fan of. Well, so Sia, which by the way, I need to establish them because I think you got confused for a second. Ania Solo is not Sia.
Oh, okay, that's a
Yeah,
different character.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay,
Ania does not show up until the miniseries.
gotcha.
But Sia definitely feels like what if Princess Leia drank the Kool-Aid, you know?
Yeah, yeah, uh, definitely. And the other thing that is, I don't want to say confusing, but it's a lot of people have lightsabers in this.
Mhm. Yeah,
They're not necessarily Jedi. You got Imperial Knights running around. You got,
I love the Imperial Knights.
yeah, they're fun. It's a fun little faction of
Um,
characters, and
no, I here's the thing. So my friends have been trying to get me into Warhammer recently,
mhm.
um, and I'm rereading this, and I'm like, oh, there's how much of this is Warhammer, and how much of Warhammer is this? You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of really fun world building in this, and if you're kind of bored with, let's see, you've got prequel Star Wars. That's one way. You have classic Star Wars, which is the classic battle. You have Disney Star Wars, which feels like it's rudderless and doesn't know what it's doing. If you're looking for something a little different, this is a interesting take on a lot of these
Yeah.
concepts and kind of mixing them up into something very cool and interesting.
Yeah, I would say this probably feels closest to the Old Republic, whether it's Knights of the Old Republic or the Old Republic MMO, the Old Republic comic books, which Ostrander has written some of that as well. I would say if you're familiar with Old Republic, you may feel right at home, and if you're not familiar, read this, read Old Republic, get into some Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Especially if you're feeling like I am disappointed with Disney Star Wars currently, it is nice to go read stuff put together by competent writers
Yeah,
and
and that might be, and I don't want to harp on Disney Star Wars for too long, just because I definitely want to. I'd rather sing this praises on its own rather than being like, well, it's better than Disney Star Wars.
oh no, this is
It's yeah,
this is uh this feels like this would be a good setup for a sequel trilogy. Like they're always talking about how can we do a Star Wars story that's not super dependent on Luke. I mean, this does involve a Skywalker, but I mean, this is a great way to just jump 100 years
yeah,
later and just say, here's
yeah.
something different.
Um, but
And you
uh,
could adapt it to fit the Disney timeline.
you could. There's
Like,
one thing that I don't know if
okay, I haven't read
I
enough.
no, well, no. I'm talking more like themes and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
There's one thing I don't know if Disney would do, and it's the fact that uh, Kate is a drug addict.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Kate is
And
addicted to the Death Sticks, which are
yeah,
from Attack of the Clones.
and
So
the
yes.
and reason being he's addicted to death sticks is because it kind of cuts off his essentially there was a Jedi temple on Ossus, which is it's one of my favorite Jedi planets. It's kind of like uh, if Tython is like New York City for the Jedi, Ossus is kind of like Chicago. Not as far as like the crime rate, but just like in terms of like the two rival cities that like, oh, which one's better, and neither of them are great, but that's neither here nor there. Um, so the Sith attack Ossus, and so uh, uh, Shadow, who is a friend of Cade, Wolf Sazin, who is Cade's master, and Cade are basically the only survivors. Cade's father, Cole, dies. And so Cade is presumed dead. He goes off and becomes a bounty hunter, and it's one of those things where he's just like, I'm done with the Jedi. I'm done with the Force. I just want to forget about everything. And so he cuts himself off from the Force via death sticks, and that's why he's addicted, because he's not addicted to the death sticks. He's addicted to the fact that he doesn't have to feel the Force.
Yes, and one of the cool things is he's kind of haunted by Force ghosts whenever he kind of comes off of those.
Yes.
So we get a lot of Luke Skywalker.
I would say
then,
Luke is his Ben Kenobi.
Yeah, but there is a moment later on where we get Anakin and Mara Jade, and so good.
Yeah.
I miss these characters. So
I do, before if we're gonna, I'm gonna bring up one thing about Disney Star Wars. I'm gonna give it to them because they actually did take one thing from this, and you didn't see Rise of Skywalker, right?
Yeah, I've seen Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, okay. I think that this comes from Legacy, and it's something that I have always loved, and I've always wanted to implement it into like a tabletop RPG like D&D. Force healing is a dark side power.
Yes, it is.
And so Rey being able to do it, being Palpatine's granddaughter, like that makes sense.
Okay.
I don't doubt that that's too much of a coincidence that they didn't at least know about this.
I don't think they knew.
But I will give it to them because since Rey's the only one that can do it.
Okay.
But yes, so the Force healing is a dark side power, and Luke kind of chastises Cade for doing so. Like Cade kind of he's a bounty hunter, but he's also kind of like the Apostle Peter going around healing people.
Mm-hmm.
And Luke chastises him because it's like, you don't, the further you go down the dark side, the more it will consume you. So the question becomes, is the dark side evil if it can heal people like this?
It's very reminiscent of Palpatine's promises to Anakin in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, and it is, but Palpatine's promises were empty because he couldn't do it. Cade is actually doing it.
Yeah. And every time he does it, they're like, "Oh no, you just touched the dark side,"
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's I love this so much. It's some of my favorite Star Wars. It's I would probably say this is like my number, like Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie. It's my favorite Star Wars anything. I just love it. Legacy is probably my number 2. I love Legacy so much.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the EU, and this was a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to finish it up sometime this summer when I find time.
What we can do, we're going to be putting together, stuff for the coming rest of the year. I'll see what good cutoffs there are, and then we may, if you want to, we can just kind of go through the rest of Legacy.
Sure. Yeah, we can map it out. What are the 2 moments that shocked me?
Yes, please. I'd love to know.
There were, I don't know, they weren't really bounty hunters. I guess you'd call them bounty hunters. There were 2 Imperial agents that were sent to get Cade, and one takes out the other, and then we find out this is Cade's mom, and I was like, "What?"
Oh yeah.
I don't remember her name, but that totally caught me off guard. As soon as she put out the locket, I was like, "Wait, what?" And and then I was like, "Okay." I did not see that coming, and that is a fun twist on the Luke, I'm your father, or secret parents, or whatever Star Wars tradition.
Yeah. By the way, it's a Morgan Cord, but she goes by Nina.
Yes. So that was fun, and then when R2D2 showed up, I was like, "Wait, what?" I did not see that coming at all.
So here's the thing. George Lucas has said something, and after I heard him say this, I'm like, okay, R2D2 just has to be in everything Star Wars from this point
Oh,
on.
absolutely.
Um, uh,
R2D2 and C3PO are the eyes of. They're the ones chronicling everything that's happening,
uh, what
and
what George Lucas said was, it's R2D2 telling you the story. That's why he's always saving the day.
yeah, he is the hand of fate in
Yeah.
in for most of it, and that is one of my biggest complaints. Again, we're attacking Disney Star Wars is that they did not understand the importance of R2D2 and shelved him immediately in their first movie, and I was like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. As soon as they introduced BB-8 and shelved R2D2, I was like, you're not doing this right. So
One other thing that so it's Star Wars is like poetry; it rhymes, which is what George Lucas would say. My favorite thing is you've got scenes where Cade is being chastised for his use of the Force, tapping into the dark side. Um, but you've also got so Darth Krayt goes to Korriban, um, so that way they can help out with uh, so that way they can help out with his Yuuzhan Vong sickness. And instead of doing that, they just chastise him for abolishing the rule of two.
yeah,
um,
they did, and they just they're like
and it
bullies. They
yeah,
pick on him for being weak and stuff. They're
and
just
and it's fun because those are old Republic, like it's Darth Bane and Darth Nihilus,
yeah.
it's like Ostrander loves Star Wars as much as I do. It's cool to know that. um,
And one of the things they do that again, I don't know why the sequel trilogy did not go there. They were starting to definitely is where was Anakin's Force Ghost in the sequel trilogy. His his perspective would have been so important to Kylo Ren, and I don't know why it is not there.
mm,
And we see it here, where sometimes he's talking to Anakin, and he turns into Vader, and he turns into burnt Anakin. He's changing forms constantly, like as a warning of this is what could happen to you. When you start
mhm.
playing with the dark side, and I don't know. I think that was in the original plan when they laid out Force Awakens, and it got dropped
Yes.
somewhere.
Um, so not only was it in Force Awakens, but even post Last Jedi, it was going to be in Colin Trevorrow's Rise of Sky. Well, I think he called it Duel of the Fates. So it was
hmm
going to be in his Episode 9, and then eventually Kylo Ren would dispel his ghost, put on the helmet, and say, "I am Darth Vader."
Yeah,
Um,
that's where Force Awakens is heading at the end, and then anyhow,
yeah.
okay.
One other thing that I love about this is so there are we read two main stories. We read
hmm
Broken, and then we read Trust Issues, and then there were two one shots.
hmm
I love the one shots just as much.
Yeah, there's one about stormtroopers having to, because there's a civil war basically going on, so
Yeah,
the stormtroopers have to face against stormtroopers,
yeah.
and you
Joker
follow
Squad.
Do you follow the Sith that's giving you these commands? Do you turn on them? Where is your loyalty? And
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
And then the other one, both one shots kind of have to deal with the Empire because the other one shot is actually a flashback to just like it's actually this cover right here for issue 8, where it just it's just like the actual betrayal. It's a giant battle. I think that some of these one shots could really work, and it's funny because we have we have Star Wars Visions, and so you could kind of have them work like Star Wars Visions. I was thinking more of the Animatrix. Like, do you remember the Animatrix where there was like that 2-parter that was the origin of the machines?
Sure.
I
That's
was
the
thinking kind
only
of like
reason
that.
to watch the Animatrix is the two-parter.
I love the final flight of the Osiris.
It's been a while. I'd have to
Yeah.
revisit it.
Uh,
But yeah.
but I think those could work. So, yeah, and I think the coolest thing is we're 13 issues in, and our 3 main characters are still not with the rebellion cause. They're still not on board.
Yeah, Cade has started to have his, I guess, call to adventure, but he's still not, I'd say, fully on board or anything. He's he still kind of just wants revenge against the Sith that,
Yeah.
took everything from him. So,
Which, by the way, one of my favorites is I like you got to appreciate how they end an issue because you want them to want you to come back, right?
mhm.
Whenever Sia goes down, and then Cade picks up her Imperial lightsaber and says, "I have had enough." And then that's the end of the issue. Like, oh, it's so sick.
Yeah, and earlier he said he will never pick up a lightsaber again.
Oh yeah.
They pushed him too far. This is the John Wick moment. They pushed him too far. You're like, all right.
I'm gonna look this up real quick. This isn't necessarily a spoiler. It's just more of who Cade like. There's no story to it whatsoever. This is just a cool picture. But this is like kind of what Cade is. And let's see. Here we go. There's a Reddit picture. Here we go. Yeah. So he's a Jedi with a shotgun.
Yeah, yeah.
that
He
that is
definitely is.
that is who Cade is. Which this is so KOTOR because like if you're going through the Knights of the Old Republic games and like you're building your character, Gun Wizard is a viable build. So it's like Cade is just the most interesting Star Wars character ever because he's a melting pot. He's got the best of Luke. He's got the worst of Han, and he's got everything that Anakin is in between.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And I think pairing him up with Sin and Delilah's entry, because Sin hates Jedi, doesn't know that he's with a Jedi, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is something that it's so weird because I don't think I'm speaking in hyperbole when I say this. No one's read this. Even like the Star Wars fans who can kind of keep up with me in my Star Wars knowledge when it comes to like New Republic stuff and even KOTOR stuff. I'm the one recommending Legacy to them. I really don't know. Maybe it's because like this is so far removed from the rest of the expanded universe that like Star Wars fans are even like, I won't bother with that. Which is unfortunate because I keep saying you're missing out on the best of the expanded universe here.
I really think the Yuzan Vong really heard the fandom at that time, and so
Mm.
I think this is just prior to when Dark Horse gets rid of the Star Wars. Well, it's probably a little bit later on, but
This is 2006.
yeah, uh, that's not too far from when Disney would acquire Star Wars, and but then they didn't move the license over till Marvel. But anyhow, um, but yeah, I think that the Yuzhan Vong stuff scared off a lot of readers, and then this was so far removed that yeah,
Mm.
I could see why the readership was down. But yes, I am definitely going to continue reading this, whether we do it on the show or not. Uh, if you're looking for some good Star Wars,
Honestly,
my
I'm
goodness.
just no, I'm line in the sand. We are doing it on the show because I am just so. Can I be honest? I'm just so excited that I'm talking to you about Star Wars in a positive light. You know?
Yeah, and it reminds me that I should. I'm one of the ones that jumped off the train when the Yuzhan Vong showed up, and now I'm kind of like, you know what, I should go back and read those novels.
Mhm.
So I don't know when I'd find the time to do that, but it's definitely like, okay, I'll put that on my list of things to check out.
I'll,
So
I'll put us together a nice primer for EU novels so that way we can skip some of the bad ones.
yeah, and I haven't read everything that's pre Yuzhan Vong, but I've read quite a bit of it. There's a couple of those weird Han Solo trilogies or whatever that I haven't read, but
Did you read the
uh,
Black Fleet Crisis?
Black Fleet Crisis. I don't know. I don't remember that one.
It's a trilogy of novels. I can't even remember like what I just remembered as the Black Fleet Crisis because I don't remember the three novels names. Before the Storm, Shield of Lies, and Tyrant's Test.
I think I
Um,
had some of those. I didn't have all of them, so I never did read all of it.
did
I
you
think
ever
that's
read one that I have not read all of, and so I'm actually wanting to go through them? Did you ever read all of X-Wing?
I've never read any of X-Wing.
Ooh, okay, we might have to do that because I've been wanting to get into X-Wing.
Okay. Yeah, I do love Wedge Antilles though, so yeah,
Yeah.
I'd jump
Um,
all over that. So
well, and I also love so the main character of those is Karan Horn,
hmm
um, and I know Karan Horn when he's a Jedi, and X-wing is before he's a Jedi, so I don't know
hmm
anything about that.
yeah, no, we could. Yeah, I'd definitely just like to start hunting down some of these old Star Wars books.
They're actually another thing I'll give Disney is they're reprinting the Legends novels as those like Legends Essentials with the really cool artwork. Have you seen those?
I have not. No,
Oh, okay. So I have the Thrawn trilogy, and I have most of the Old Republic stuff. Um,
and I haven't read any of Old Republic either. So so
let's see. Let's see. So they started this a couple years ago. So these are, I mean, you find these at any Barnes and Noble. Um, let's see.
okay, I
Uh,
have seen those covers before. Okay,
yeah, where's the Republic Commandos, Force Unleashed? Here we go. The Rogue Squadron ones.
okay.
I love these. Oh man, this is my
Oh,
favorite. I
the
love
Thrawn
it.
trilogy. Okay, hold up. If you've never read any of the EU, that's essential
Yes.
reading. Is the Thrawn trilogy.
We got Darth Plagueis. Oh, fun fact: Darth Maul Shadow Hunter. I read this in high school, and I did a book report on
Nice.
it. Let's see. Outbound. Okay, so um, just brief primer for Thrawn. You've got the Thrawn trilogy, right?
hmm
But then you've also got Outbound Flight, which
Which I've
is
never read, oddly enough.
really okay. Yeah, this is really good Thrawn stuff. And then where is uh they I'm fairly certain they've done uh, Specters of the Past and Visions of the Future. I don't know where they're at.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm convinced that they've done those two as well, but maybe not. Maybe that's just me. But we're getting off on a
a
tangent.
tangent. Yep.
But it's Star Wars Day, and if everyone's like on the Marvel train and they're talking about Thunderbolts, and I'm like, can we please talk some Star Wars?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah. So if you're looking for some different ways to celebrate Star Wars Day, I'd recommend Jendy Tartovsky's Clone Wars.
Mhm.
I would recommend the Thrawn trilogy. Let's see what else. I even like the old Star Wars Marvel comics. I know they don't get a lot of love, but some of those between Empire and Return of Jedi, a lot of fun.
Real quick before we sign off, you bring up the Star Wars Marvel comics. When I worked at Half Price Books,
Hmm.
um, we actually had one of them like in pristine condition in the uh, in the what is like the case, like
Yeah,
it's
oh yeah, yeah, graded, all that.
yeah. I am looking. It was a cover, and it was one of the earlier covers. Like it was an expensive. It was an expensive issue.
Collectible, yeah.
I'm trying to find it, but there it was. It was such a funny cover.
Yeah.
It might have been like number. I'm gonna see if it was number two. Um,
Yeah, some of
let's
those
see.
early Star Wars comics are wild.
Yes. Here we go. I found it. I found it. Open image in new. I just, I just love. Okay, so what makes me laugh is the dialogue. Like it's a cool cover, but the
Mhm.
dialogue kills me. And you got to read it the way in my head I'm reading it in a weird way. So it's just like swing that lightsaber, Ben, or we're finished.
Yeah, yeah, this is yeah, as you
Swing
do
that.
classic stuff here.
Oh
Yes.
man, it was just it's dialogue is funny. I love funny dialogue.
Yeah, and this is a scene that we've all seen in the movie, and this is nothing like the scene in the movie. That's great.
Imagine Mark Hamill actually saying this dialogue in the cantina.
I'm just picturing a puppet riot now. All these puppets attacking them, and puppet limbs flying everywhere.
Oh man, this I was about I was about to make a bad joke. Never mind, never mind. Oh man, this is you know what? So I've had this idea. Cameron gave me this idea, and I wanted to put this on the rotation for the next 6 months.
Hmm.
A show about um, our favorite and also most iconic covers of comic books of all time. This one might be up there for me.
We might do like a what was it called? Super Dickery, those weird Superman covers
Yeah.
from the 50s, and we could throw in some of these weird Star Wars covers. There's a legendary Alf cover that's legendary allegedly banned, and yeah, we could talk about them. If you've never seen the Alf, I think it's a seal cover. It's yeah.
Which one? Is it one that is it NSFW? Like, can I look it up or?
Yeah, I think it's okay to. I think we're late enough in the show that we can
All right.
type in. Uh, I just saw it.
What is it?
Just type in Alf Marvel seal.
Seal, as in like the
Uh,
animal?
the animal.
Oh my god! Hold on.
We're having a
It,
judge to see if we could show this on stream.
um, um, you know what? If
We'll
Ren and
just tell you. You
if
know,
if,
let's,
if Ren and Stimpy can do this, was it Ren and Stimpy that did the saw gag?
yeah, when they came back on Spike TV,
Hmm.
the adult animation block.
You know what?
Yes.
I think this bit is funnier if I don't show it, so I'm
Yeah, I
not
think
going
it
to show
was too. I think leave it to their imagination.
it.
Um, it is
Caution:
a
do not buy if safety seal is missing. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Is it intentional? We'll let you be the judge, but it's a very controversial Alf seal cover that somehow got past editorial and everybody else. So,
Um,
um, so on that note, what are we up to next week on the old Culture Shark?
so it's a film. I think we're kind of I'm hoping that today's show will bring you over to my side,
Okay.
because we said either Hidden Fortress or Poseidon Adventure. We're gonna do Poseidon Adventure for Gene Hackman. Hidden Fortress is kind of still on the Star Wars train, because we don't get Star Wars without Hidden Fortress,
Yeah.
because
So
so
what I think we're going to do probably is next week we'll record 2 episodes, a Hidden Fortress episode and then a bonus Poseidon Adventure episode that we are just going to put away. And when we run into a week when we're not able to record, that's when the Poseidon Adventure episode's just going to get released out of nowhere.
okay, I
So
like that. Yeah.
if you see that episode, you know that something came up we were unable to record that week. So
Real quick, and at this point, we're just getting into the behind the scenes stuff. But next week is Mother's Day, right? Do we just want to pre-record both episodes then?
we could. We'll talk offline. Also, a reminder: Cobra Kai is coming up at the end of the month. I've been watching it to get through it because I had a lot of seasons to watch, and man, it's so good.
It
Okay.
is. I think I just finished where
I'm in
preview.
the I'm in the middle of season 3 right
Okay,
now.
I just finished season 3. Hawk is the best character ever.
It's so good.
Um,
We'll be talking about Cobra Kai at the end of the month before the next Karate Kid movie comes out.
which
So
I don't know if we've talked about it. Looks really good, actually.
yeah, I'm. It's got me curious enough to maybe go watch the Will Smith, Jaden Smith Karate Kid
I
movie, which I
actually,
never thought I would say.
so I actually, I think it's a good movie. I think it's just one of those things where it, because of the name, it's got a legacy that it has to
Hmm.
uphold, and
Sure.
it's just one you got to view on your own. I think it's a really good movie, um, and as legendary as Wax On, Wax Off is, take off your jacket. I love Take Off Your Jacket.
Sounds so wrong. Okay. All right. On that note, I've been Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and we'll catch you next time in the Shark Pond.
And Blue, please call me.